The Jets, BT, are reaching yet again high levels of dysfunction. And this is no secret. This is something that's been going on for a while. But even this week, with some of the stuff that's come out, I mean, we know the quarterback has been inept. We know Robert Saleh, he can't even answer a question, pleading the fifth. To me, this is about Joe Douglas. I think Joe Douglas has failed this team. Even forget about hiring Robert Saleh and drafting Zach Wilson, which is bad enough, and then throwing them both to the Wolves together. But just this season in particular, how the hell does Joe Douglas not go out there and get a capable, competent backup quarterback once Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays in? That doesn't make any sense. And here we are now going into week 10. Even you, the biggest Zach Wilson supporter, saying it's time to bench him. Yep. But for what? Well, for who? Joe Douglas has failed this organization.
You know, the Jets, it's interesting because the Jets right now, to me, are an organizational mess. I do think there's a lot of issues here. I think everybody's guilty, quite frankly, from the owner to the GM to the head coach. But while I'm ready to dole out some blame and not absolve the GM of the blame that you're dishing his way, he's earned that shrapnel for sure. But to me, as we focus on Zach, right, and at least, you know, in the moment, you know, Zach's got to be better, and he must, and I'm on the record, I would bench him. To me, I find it amazing that you're in the middle of a playoff race, which they are. Now, that loss was dense, that definitely dense what they could do this year because everything broke their way. The Bills lost, Miami lost, could have been 5-3, still play Miami twice.
Change the whole feel of where they were
changes.
Going.
It really does. The AFC North is completely, right now every team's a playoff team, so I do think it's probably more of a path to the division rather than the wild card. But does it strike anybody else as crazy that the New York Jets are still in a playoff race and there seems to be chaos? And to me, the chaos is coming from the head coach. Now, Sal's not wrong when he talks about the quarterback situation and the general manager doing his job and delivering maybe better solutions, but everything that's been consumed this week, and listen, eventually we'll get to the game Sunday night and we'll talk football and we'll watch football, but this week has been about the disorganization of the Jets, and that's coming from the coach. The coach is making it worse.
Yeah, but if he had if you hear Saleh avoid to answer the question, well, I plead the fifth, it makes it seem to me like he's not speaking the truth on what he really wants to do. It also means that he doesn't have a viable option. I think Zach Wilson stinks, but even I know he's probably a better option than Trevor Siemian or Timmy Boyle. So why didn't Joe Douglas know that? Why didn't he when he had the whole season in front of him? We've seen the Vikings go out there, they lose Kirk Cousins. You know, a couple weeks ago, they get Dobbs in there, and they win a game, and they're still on their way to the postseason.
For a sixth-rounder, by the way.
Think of it for nothing.
Yep.
Carson Wentz just gets signed by the Rams. Now, I'm not saying Carson Wentz is any good, but he's certainly better than Trevor Siemian, and he could even be better than Zach Wilson. So what was Joe Douglas thinking sitting on his hands when almost everybody else said you need to bring in a quarterback because inevitably you're going to need to go to the backup quarterback because your backup quarterback ain't it? And here we are. And Joe Douglas is standing there with his pants down.
I want to go back to something you said about maybe, you know, Saleh, and I don't think this is crazy. I don't want to use the word lying. That seems so presumptuous.
So what do you think it was?
Well, but I'm going to go with lying. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm just trying to be fair here.
Right.
If he's lying to us, what do you think he's protecting?
You're saying lying about
so when Saleh has spoken to the media this week and the message has been inconsistent and anything but, you know, in my opinion, representing true, believable, convicted leadership. But what is he trying to hide? Is it the owner, in your opinion,
right,
the owner saying kids play no matter what? Is it Joe Douglas saying kids play? Like, what's he protecting if he's protecting anything? Because that's a very important question.
Probably a combination of the first two things you said, and I think more Joe than Woody. I'm assuming Woody is not saying, hey, you got to play Zach. I don't think he'd be...
I don't know.
If anything, Woody, maybe Woody prevented him from going out there and trying to get another call. Like, I don't understand what's going on there. But
I don't think he would do that.
Okay, so it doesn't add up.
Well, good.
And the reason I said that is because they invested so much in Rodgers, and then there was a reporter thought that, like, hey, they're not going to invest that much more in another quarterback. Like, this is it.
Yep.
I think Saleh's protecting Joe Douglas, who made a big investment in Zach Wilson and clearly believes in Zach Wilson, and protecting Zach himself.
Okay.
The fragile, ego, and sensitive nature.
I don't, he doesn't strike me as fragile as he was. He was broken last year. I feel like the kid's acquitted himself pretty well in terms of what he says. Listen, he's not the alpha, the leader. He's not barking. He's not, he's not the guy. He's not the man. But I feel like Zach Wilson's a lot more mature this year. I don't feel like he's as vulnerable as he was last year.
I mean, dude, even the game against Kansas City, he's on the sideline looking like he's going to weep. And then, we get on Caleb Williams for crying. Zach Wilson's in the NFL, for goodness sake. This is year 3, and he looks like he's going to cry on the sideline. I let us down when he fumbled the ball.
No, he said.
The teammates got to go over to him and console him. I mean, dude, grow up.
I didn't have an issue with that. I do have an issue with the quarterback play, which is the root of the issue here, which is why I said, I'm coming in after the horrendous loss on Monday. From the biggest Zach supporter and backer, which is me, who's the idiot? I guess that would be me. When I come in and say, kid's got to sit, and it's time to sit, and he's not. So I don't want to completely change the tone of the conversation, but do you at least think that there's a chance? Let me ask you this. Yeah. Because to come out and bench him, and they elected not to do that, even though I would have, now it's anarchy. Now it's like, the kid's benched and this, and all the noise just gets louder and louder. Do you at least believe, Sal, in your opinion, that the Jets are entering this Raiders game with a plan B? We're obviously starting Zach, and if he doesn't play well, we're pulling him. Do you think that is in place now?
I mean, I guess anything's possible, but I don't believe, and this is crazy to say this, and this is part of the problem, and this is why I'm blaming Joe Douglas and not Robert Saleh. I believe Zach Wilson gives them the best chance to win.
Yeah.
The options are Timmy Boyle and Trevor Siemian. So who do you think's game? Like, I know you want change. I understand that. And I believe Zach has failed.
Yep.
But like a lot of people do, and now even you have come around to saying that maybe there's a better option. But
you got to score points. You're quarterback.
But Trevor Siemian and Timmy Boyle ain't it. So, could they bench Zach? Sure. But could they have benched him at some points early in the year? I mean, yeah.
But did we think that Mike White was it before he actually came and flashed a little something last year? I don't know. I mean, Boyle's been in the league a little bit longer. He knows the system. Trevor Siemian's limited. He's not fast. He doesn't have a rocket. But you're telling me he can't engineer 2-3 scoring drives a week? I don't know.
I know, but so we want the unknown.
It's appealing right now.
We know that it's not working with Zach.
Yeah.
So we want the unknown.
Yeah.
And basically what Joe Douglas told you when Rodgers went down was that he believes Zach Wilson is the best option, period. Like, they forget Kirk Cousins, forget Wentz, forget trying to trade for backup, forget Matt Ryan, forget this guy, forget Dobbs. Like, Zach Wilson is their best current option after what went on. That's week 1. And Robert Saleh, I believe, is either lying, protecting his quarterback as general manager, or also saying that right now it may look ugly, it may be bad. He's our best option.
If they don't have this plan in place amongst themselves, they do not need to tell us this, and they obviously did not and have not. But if they haven't put something together, whether it's Boyle, whether it's Trevor Siemian.
What if it were Carson Wentz?
I'm not interested at this point. I mean, I'm not saying I would have brought...
At this point, you wouldn't rather have Carson Wentz than Trevor Siemian?
Listen, I've got to... Okay, when you say things, you got to own them. Now, I remember saying it was almost like just a throwaway, like a very innocuous statement. I thought about it, but I didn't really hammer. Dove, you were here when me and Teak were together. It came up at some point. I don't remember when. I'm like, boy, this is interesting. You're putting all your chips in the basket of a 39-year-old quarterback. And I said, you better make sure that if he goes down, God forbid, that Zach is repaired. Now, he's repaired a little bit, but he's not doing much. So evidently that wasn't, I could say now that wasn't that was not a good move.
Right, but I didn't have a problem with it at the time.
I didn't have as much of it, so I can't lie. I can pretend I didn't say it. I was okay with Rodgers the stud, and then obviously Zach learned for a year or two, and then maybe take the reins. I was okay with it.
But when he goes down, when Rodgers goes down 4 plays in, okay, your plan coming in was great. Rodgers the guy, Zach in an emergency situation. Who knows? Maybe Rodgers misses a couple weeks, whatever it may be.
Yep.
He'll come in. He'll be okay as a backup for a short amount of time. Rodgers goes down for the year, 4 plays in. Joe Douglas has to realize that, oh, crap, the guy that we just traded a quarterback to bring here for a reason. Like, we just traded to get this quarterback to bring him here for a reason because the guy that he replaced was no good. Now he's our guy again, right out of the gate.
Yeah.
I better get somebody in here as insurance just in case, in reality, in the likely event, but just in case he's not developed yet, which we all knew he wasn't going to be, not to that level. And he didn't. He didn't do anything. This is on Joe Douglas. Salah has been bad. I mean, the defense has been good, but him as a head coach been bad. This is on Joe Douglas.
Listen, I got you. We see it a little differently here. Not entirely. I understand what you're saying, and I understand that now. Now, it feels different in the middle of November when Rodgers is out and Zach is not scoring touchdowns. But the dysfunction that I have felt this week, that's on Salah. His messaging has been very poor. Now, behind the scenes, what Sal's saying, I got you. I'm not saying you're wrong. But if you're a coach and you are the leader, you are the day-to-day voice of that team, you got to be better. He's had an awful week. Awful.
Yeah, it's been, come on, pleading the fifth. BT and Zach, when have you ever heard somebody say that? We've had a lot of
in the court of law. Criminal investigations, that's it.
Dude, we're talking sports.
I know.
Think about all the interviews that Mike and Chris have done over the years, all the managers for Mets, Yankees.
You imagine if he said that to us? The follow-up questions.
Oh, my God.
You can't say that and get away with it.
Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. John is calling from the Upper East Side. What's up, John?
Hey, guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
What's happening, John?
Hey, guys. Listening to the fan my whole life. Never called into a radio station before. Appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Thanks for making it.
First time. There you go.
The more I listen to you, the more I love you guys. Just wanted to say real quick about Sal's rant the other day when the Mets hired Mendoza.
Yeah.
I had never heard that name before, but specifically when Sal said, if Ohtani and Yamamoto are not following, I am going to flip out. And I was like, BT, if I'm you sitting there, I'm like, is this not a flip out in and of itself?
Well, I said that. No, John, in the clip, it's all over. I said that. I said, didn't you just flip out? That was after I spit out my coffee. Oh, it was awesome. Great rant.
Boomer and Gio played that the next morning. That was hilarious.
I hear you.
Well, thank you, John.
All right, guys, thank you for taking my call. I
that's
appreciate
it.
it.
All right, John. Well, thank you very much.
That was very easy.
Appreciate you checking in. I thought you had something to say about Joe Douglas. It was not a planted call to tell us that you enjoyed it, but thank you very much. Stefan is calling from Staten Island. What's up, Stefan?
Well, I'm looking for my buddy, Sal.
Oh, hey, Stefan. Hey, it's been a while. Now, Stefan, when you last left us, last Friday, as a matter of fact, you called here and you said, Sal, nobody cares about your football opinion. You don't know what you're talking about when it comes to football. You're lost. The Jets are going to roll the Chargers, blah, 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 blah. So today I ask you,
something like
how
that,
you like me now, Stefan?
Sal, I got it. Let me be honest with you, Sal. I'm glad I didn't call on Tuesday. I didn't have a chance. But I thought about it, and I got to thank you because I'm finally off the Zach Wilson wagon. It's just time. We got to go elsewhere.
All right, so let's ask you, Stefan. All kidding aside, I do appreciate you calling and owning up to the fact that you were wrong and then I was in fact right.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, you're the right, 100%.
Okay, but now, so let me ask you, seriously, and I was asking BT this, do you really think that Trevor Siemian or Timmy Boyle are better options than Zach Wilson?
I agree with you that he probably gives them the best chance to win. I think they just need a little something. It might give them a little juice if somebody else is in it. I don't know, man. But listen, look at that game, right? That game Monday. The two young stars on the team, Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, they didn't help anybody either last week. The offensive line's in shambles. Nathaniel Hackett stinks. It's a million different things. But maybe if you make a switch at quarterback, maybe something sparks. I don't know. Because right now the offense is a disaster. It's not. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Thanks for the call.
Disaster's a little strong because to me, and they did make some mistakes like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson, the fumbles, no doubt. That's disastrous. But for the most part, they played clean football. They just haven't done anything. Like, to me, a disaster is 3 turnovers, always.
Oh, they were putting the football on
I'm saying that there was elements of disaster that game. But the last 5-6 weeks hasn't been that. Zach hasn't thrown a pick.
Right.
It's amazing.
I know.
He's got the longest, pass streak without an interception in the NFL. All right, let me just throw this at you. All right. So imagine that we're sitting there the Monday night, Bills, Rodgers goes down, boom, Wilson comes in. And there was an alert that came across your TV, foreshadowing where we are now. Not telling you about the yards or the touchdowns or what the Jets average per game, but Zach Wilson, well, I think it's like 235 attempts, will own the longest and current non-interception streak in the NFL for a 5-week period. You're sitting there saying, we're going to win 12, 13 games. We're going to be putting up 30 points. It's such a contradiction.
You would be saying that. I don't think I would be saying that.
But you don't think Jet fans, if they saw that as low as our morale was when Rodgers went down,
right.
If there was a way to find out, 6-7 weeks down the road that Zach Wilson is not throwing any
I get what you're
interceptions.
It's a big step for him not to ruin a game by making terrible decisions. However, he ain't it. He's been a mess back there. The one constant for the last 3 seasons has been that the Jets' offense is ranked the bottom of the league, if not dead last, over the last 3 years in almost every facet. And he's the quarterback of that the majority of the time.
Yeah.
It's a problem, BT. So then the question becomes, well, why the hell did the general manager who watched this guy for the last 2 years, when Rodgers went down, why did he not have some kind of insurance in the likely event, even if he didn't think it was likely, in the likely event that Wilson was going to need to be benched at some point? Like, there were options out there, and he chose to sit on his hands.
I don't love the options as much as you, but,
But they're better than Trevor Siemian.
No, you don't know if Siemian doesn't play. I think he had one year he had like 11 touchdowns and 2 picks a couple of years ago. Like, he's not horrendous.
BT, come on. They could have had, whether it's Matt Ryan out of the booth.
I'm not sure if Matt can still play.
What about Dobbs?
Okay.
6th-round pick. What do you mean, okay?
Dobbs, can we see a little more, dude? I know it's a cute story, and I know he was
moving the football with Arizona.
I understand that. I know. But here's the thing. So the Vikings, and you brought this up earlier. All right, Cousins goes down, same injury as Rodgers. The difference, and I'm not making an excuse for Joe Douglas, but the situation's entirely different. Because the Vikings, number one, are in a dogfight in a bad division. All right, the Lions are the only good team, and we don't even know really how good they are.
Right.
Okay, so that's number one. So the incentive to do something immediately is a little bit more. I think is a little bit more there. But more importantly, there was nobody on the roster that the team had this massive. Who was the backup? I forgot. Who was the backup?
From Minnesota?
To Kirk Cousins. I honestly forgot.
Don't know.
Okay. And that's the point. It wasn't somebody they drafted 2nd overall 3 years ago.
Okay, but
so it's different. It's easy to go and say, I'm going out and getting somebody.
But that's fine if you're going to have an evaluation season. Now, you weren't saying that. I said when Rodgers went down, the Jet season was over. And everybody's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, blah, 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 playoffs, Super Bowls, this, that. If you're going to evaluate Zach Wilson because you took him number 2 overall and this is year 3, that's a different story than trying to win. If they were trying to win and get to the postseason this year and take advantage of what could be a Super Bowl winning defense, they needed to go out there and get a real quarterback just in case that this likely event would happen, that you get to a point in the season where you're going to need a quarterback change. Now their option is Trevor Siemian.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but if they don't make him an option, he's not an option.
Right,
I'm okay with him as an option for a game.
And I guess that comes back to the point about Saleh versus Douglas.
Yep.
What's going on here? Is it Saleh saying that Zach gives us the best chance, doesn't believe in Siemian? Is it Douglas forcing Wilson on him?
Is it Woody flexing? I mean, we always say that Mara had a little hand in the Jones extension. Let's face it, just because Woody hasn't been a great owner in terms of wins, don't tell me that he doesn't have a little hand in this. I believe that he does. He's involved. He's on the field every game. He's wearing the Woody ice like sauce, and he's always tweeting about the uniforms and highlight clips. He's more engaged, at least publicly, than Mara and Tish.
I don't fault Joe Douglas for drafting Zach Wilson. I don't fault Joe Douglas for having Zach Wilson as the backup this year. I do fault Joe Douglas for not going out there and immediately bringing in a capable backup quarterback in the event that this likely scenario would play out, where now everybody's clamoring to bench Zach Wilson. Took 10 weeks, but we're here. BT and Sal on the Fan. We'll continue with your calls on the other side, 877-337-6666.